All right, we're on air. It is Thursday, December 20th, and this is a meeting to check in on active development tests for Backdrop CMS, primarily for the 1.12 release coming in just 11 days. So let's see. Starting off with our website, backdropcms.org is going to have a bunch of changes coming soon related to modules, themes, and layouts search. Issue for that is 442. If you want a full rundown of what's going on there, you can watch the design meeting where we discussed it in more detail. There's actually a couple of other issues too, all related. The forum website, last week we reported a problem with out-of-memory errors when we were previewing forum topics. Joseph found some of our custom code that was causing a problem, which made me really excited because if we can fix our custom code, that means it's not a problem for all Backdrop sites. But we pushed the fix and Tim found some more problems afterwards. So Joseph, I don't know if you have time today to take a look into that again, but there might actually be problems that aren't related to our custom code we have to fix. But yeah, it does look like Tim posted some pretty good steps to reproduce in issue number 68 about what happens when you're creating a new topic versus editing, previewing a comment, versus editing an existing comment. There's different things that happen in each case.
All right, I can take a look at that.
Okay, let's move on to Backdrop CMS. I'll turn it over to Nate.
All right. Wow, there's a lot of things going on. As Jen mentioned, you know, the release is coming up here really soon. We've only got about 2 weeks, a little less, to wrap up things that will be in 1.12. And so, yeah, we've got a lot of things that are starting to pile up here. Let's go over 1.11.4 first. That will be the next bug fix release. It was about 2 weeks ago we released 1.11.3, which included a bundle of bug fixes. And one bug fix that I thought was included that was not actually included was 32.23, which was a MySQL install issue that if you used MAP or something similar, it was supposed to automatically use localhost or the IP address 127.0.0.1 if necessary, but that automatic switching was broken. And so it actually made the installer worse. So that issue 32.23 has now been merged, and so that will be in the next release. Let's see, there are a lot of cross-ports in issue 33.75, cross-ports coming over from Drupal 7.61. A whole bucket of those are RTBC, but have not yet been merged, and so those will be going in as soon as possible. And lastly, a large problem with CKEditor that if you try to link an image in CKEditor, it causes a fatal error, and that is issue 33.84, and that one is also RTBC. So the slew of all of those RTBC issues sets us up well, I think, for making another bug fix release, probably 1.11.4. I don't know if we have a timeline for that. Sometimes when we have feature freezes, we also release kind of like a pre-release version of the next version of Backdrop. So we could potentially coordinate 1.11.4 to come out at the same time, or it could just be entirely separate. So in any case, we've got a lot more merging to take care of across those two issues between the cross-ports and CKEditor linking and a lot of other issues that are in the needs review queue and RTBC queue. So lots of things to get merged in there. We're at a little committer bottleneck here. So yeah, we'll be working through getting all of those things merged in. Let's see. That's it for 1.11.4 that we have on the agenda. So we'll talk about 1.12. 1.12 feature freeze comes up January 1st, 2019. So in less than 2 weeks, we will be closing the door on new functionality that gets into 1.12. as usual, we do still have the opportunity to do minor fixes, or actually any bug fixes that are required for 1.12 can come after that January 1st date, as well as minor UX fixes or text changes, things of that nature are also allowed after feature freeze, but no new features themselves will be going in after that time. So let's go through the list here. So core updates. The big meta issue that ultimately aims towards adding automatic updates is issue 2018 that tracks all of the tasks of eventually acquiring automatic updates. The item in the issue in which we are trying to get into 1.12 is issue 3271, which enables the UI for core updates being able to be applied manually. So Jen has done some work on that. It looks like it says in the agenda that there's a question for me in that issue. Should I just answer that in the issue, Jen, or is that something?
No,
you
that
want
was
to
just if
discuss?
that page could be published or not, but it sounds like you did that right before this meeting. So that should be done now.
Yeah, so we published a new documentation page on doing file permissions, like how that should be set up on a backdrop installation, because certain set of file permissions are necessary for backdrop to update, or for backdrop to install new modules and to apply updates. And so we link over to that how to set up permissions page in status message, I think, like if there's a problem.
If you publish that page, I don't know if you saw my issue. I found I think a typo on the page.
Yes, you did. I did correct that.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, that did you actually run through that entire page trying it out? Like
I don't know if I went through
commands?
that. I don't know if I went through the entire page, but I certainly did at least some of the options, and they worked. That's how I found it.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think that issue 3271 is that'll probably be as far as we take any updating capabilities in 1.12, but that's fine. That's kind of where we were hoping to get. I think if it's possible for us to get one step further than that and make it so that automatic updates are possible but disabled in the user interface in 1.12, that would be great. But we don't necessarily need to push that hard for it. But it would be really nice to make it so that we could, have that be able to be fully tested in the production environment, but just not accessible easily to our end users would be really great. Let's see. Also in the agenda, we've got issue 1992, which enables package signing and MD5 checksum checking, not required for the update ability. We've had the ability to install and update modules in Backdrop and actually in Drupal 7 for years now without any kind of signing, but that's not ideal. It's just something that we would like to enhance to make it so that when you're doing updates or installing new modules, that we know that they're coming from an authority like backdropcms.org. So no updates on that one since all the way back in July, I think. All right, let's see. We've got a whole slew of items here that then are RTBC. The rendered taxonomy term formatter is issue 3283. I won't recap that one again, but that one is RTBC. Translatable taxonomy terms, or specifically adding a language code to taxonomy terms, is issue 2934, also RTBC. And adding options element in core is issue 1005, also marked RTBC in this past week. So that's a lot of great issues there that have been moving forward in status to RTBC. I think I've taken a look at most of these, and I think I can agree that all of them are RTBC. So we'll be moving those into core shortly. Fieldable file types, or adding fields and bundles to files, is issue 2632. This one still is in this funny limbo of needs work / needs review, that the set of changes is just very, very large. So we're still kind of stuck on that one, wringing our hands about what to do about such a large set of changes. We are still also stuck on one item of UX feedback, that there's a page that has potential confusion issues around it with, hang on, let me pull it up here. The Manage File Display tab versus the Manage Displays tab. You can see how those two things are confusing. So we need to figure out how to, I don't know, shelve that for later, split it out into a separate pull request if possible, make it so that that pull request gets a little bit smaller and removes anything that has potential usability problems, and then just follow up in another issue to resolve it. So that one's still stuck in the mud, as it were.
Can I ask a question here? Is it helpful? Issue summaries in the Drupal world. I don't know if you've been doing those, if something like that would be helpful on an issue like this, and if there's any sort of protocols for that. I did one as a test to see where I actually edited the body of the original issue, and it sort of included a summary of like where I thought things were at.
Yeah, that would be tremendously helpful, especially on this issue, 2632. It has a because it was open so long ago, it doesn't even use the issue template that we added later. If we can go through and add the issue template in there, as well as saying, what the current status of the issue is, that would be a big help, I think.
Okay. So in general, the idea of doing issue summaries like they do in Drupal core is reasonable here and on big issues like this?
Okay. Yeah, and actually, when you create a new issue, at least we use the issue template now, but this was before issue templates even existed, I think, when this one was opened. I don't think that we specifically say like what needs to be done, like what's remaining. It's not in our normal template.
Right.
But maybe.
But it's especially for a beginner, it's sometimes a little intimidating to go back and edit the original issue if I don't know I sort of have permission to do that, right?
Yeah.
To create the summary, because I'm actually editing what the original person said. I usually try to keep it like just keep what they originally said below it. And
yeah, one nice thing that we do have now is that so first of all, if you have the ability to label an issue, you also have the ability to edit the summary. That permission is widely granted within the Backdrop issue queue. And if you edit somebody else's summary, although it does still unfortunately show their picture and their name like at the top of it, we do have now GitHub keeps track of the edit history, and you can see like on this issue that Doc Wilmot edited this issue once, and so your changes will be recorded separately at least. So we do have a history on changes and who changed it. So basically go for it. On that issue and any issue, really. Updating the summary is something that we do regularly. At the very least, I do this all the time, that I edit the issue to add in the current pull request at the bottom of the summary. I do that almost every day. Okay, carrying on from fieldable file types. Thank you, Tim, for updating that summary. I think that'll be a big help, because right now it's just kind of like the discussion just kind of peters out. Okay, let's see. Next up is config translation, which is issue 704. HerbDuel made a really good stab at this one to take it forward a little bit. 704 now has a further than a proof of concept, an actual pull request that adds new APIs for getting translatable strings out of config files and then running it through the T function. And that approach is looking really great. It's exactly what we have been discussing for quite a while. So it's good to see that moving forward. However, it's not complete yet. It adds the ability to call a translation string, but it does not actually do the translation. Jen, can you keep going? I've got a phone call to pick up.
Sure. So config translation is something that's been on our list for a long time. It's issue number 704. It looks like the current status is still needs work. If I remember correctly, that is pretty close. So it'll be good to get probably some more eyes on that. It might need a re-roll before it can go in. Next up is dashboard. This is issue number 495. We talked about this in more detail in the design meeting, so you're welcome to watch that if you want. But I would love to just emphasize that this is one of my personal favorite issues, and I would love to get some review on it so that we can move it forward and see if we can get it in for 112. Let's see, next up is issue 37. We also talked about the text for modules and all of the other related issues for backdropcms.org in the design call. So if you want to watch that, you can watch it and get an update on those. And then the next two are related to keeping core libraries up to date. In particular, there's RTBC pull request for updating CKEditor to the latest 4.x version. This is number 3355. And I don't know, I think Gregory, you were involved with that one. Did we itemize all of the things that we do in Backdrop that are weird with CKEditor? Things like our link embed and our image uploading and stuff so that we can test that with a new version. I think that's probably something we should document too, so any future change we can test those things.
Both of these tickets are supposed to be ongoing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I see it's right there.
So yeah, the deal is that if we have steps to test, then we add them to the issue summary. So we never close those issues,
Okay.
and each time that there's a pull request, we update the section where we have the pull requests.
Yeah.
So people can find the steps to test in the issue summary.
Yeah, that looks great. Good thinking. Okay. So that one looks great. And then the other issue is issue 2493 for updating jQuery and jQuery UI. And this looks like it still needs some more review. It doesn't look like we have the same list of things to test here. It's probably substantially more comprehensive because jQuery kind of touches everything. So yeah, I think we're probably going to need a couple of lists of things to do here as well.
Yeah, so this is meant to be the same deal as the CKEditor one. We're supposed to compile a list of tests that we need to repeat each time that there's a pull request for it, and add it to the issue summary. But I'm not sure if it's done.
Yeah, it looks like it's, well, there's no list right now, but that might be the kind of thing that we aren't going to get a complete list the first time through. We'll just kind of do like, you know, use a date picker, use an autocomplete, use it like anything we can think of, and then as time goes on, we'll be like, oh yeah, we should also test whatever, and that'll get more comprehensive over time.
And I guess it's time we break a thing. We add the thing there.
Yeah, if anything breaks, it
gets added there. Yeah.
Okay, and that is it for the list of changes to 112. At least the things that are high enough priority that they've made this agenda. Because a lot of this stuff is RTBC, I'm expecting that next week this list will be much shorter, but we might also pare down the things that we don't think are likely for 112 as of next week. So if there's anything you really want to get into 112, it should probably get some progress this week, or it may be removed or postponed, I should say. Okay, so it doesn't look like Jeff is here today. No. But we do have an ongoing issue queue for Backdrop for Good. And if anyone has any time or wants to volunteer on that, you can just take a look at that GitHub queue and grab an issue, assign it to yourself, and see if you can make a pull request. There will probably be more projects coming in the future. I think that one is going pretty well, but we will get an update from Jeff or Lauren the next time they're in this meeting. All right, and then the last section of the meeting is general discussion, open Q&A, and we have one item from last week that's still on here. It was actually started a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about security updates in Contrib, not necessarily being marked as security updates on backdropcms.org, which of course doesn't trigger people's application systems to notify them of the updates. And so what I did since last week as a short-term fix was to update the Backdrop ops contrib README. So this is the file or the document that people read when they're becoming new maintainers for Backdrop. So there's a section now at the bottom specifically for security releases. So there's information about how to handle a release, immediately followed by how to handle a security release. And so it talks about needing to coordinate a release date on a Wednesday with the security team, and then have that security team member mark that issue as a security release when it comes out. So that is our short-term solution. Long-term, we'll let people mark their own releases as security releases on backdropcms.org. But that will come after we get the single sign-on with GitHub and all of the info file author name stuff. So we've got a bunch of sort of moving parts that'll all fit together in order to make this process smoother. But for now, at least we have documented what we're currently doing so that people who want to make a security release for their module have that information. If anyone reads that language and you think it's confusing or have recommended changes, let me know. We can go ahead and make those, or make a pull request if you want to do it that way. I just thought having something there was better than nothing, and we can iterate as needed. Okay, that's it for the agenda. Is there anything anyone wants to chat about today?
Well, I wanted to ask Nate about the moving color settings into multiple field sets, but had to bail. So.
We are currently receiving a very large shipment of insulation. So Nate is outside dealing with delivery men. But I would say, why don't I have him ping you when he gets back in to chat about that? I can also point him at the issue if that's useful.
There's a bunch of people on this call, so I'm going to plug the virtual user group and getting feedback on that. I just put a link to the forum topic. I just picked a date that I thought might work, but if people want to participate and they can't participate, then let me know. We can try and reschedule it or something.
Okay. Yeah, this looks cool. What time is it?
I think I scheduled the first one for 9 a.m. your time,
Okay.
So 11 hours.
Tuesday.
That was a proposal that seemed to work good for Europe and most of the U.S. If we want to, this, I know that's not good for Gregory.
Sorry, what time was that?
Well, I posted it for 11 o'clock, so it'd be like 3 or 4 hours before what this would be, which I think would be bad for you. But if you're interested, we could try something.
No, it's okay. So it's 11:30 p.m. here, so it should be 8 p.m. It's good. It's okay.
If it would be better to do this on a Thursday with all the other calls, but my goal is not to add up more calls for the same people. It's to provide a different kind of an event for a different kind of audience. So, but I'm looking for.
Yeah. What day? Sorry, because I'm doing other stuff. I'm sorry as well. What time did you say? Sorry, what day?
I proposed it's a Tuesday, first. What is it? The 7th or something of. But it's a Tuesday, and it's at 11 Central Time in the U.S. It's at 9 Pacific Time in the U.S. I don't know what it would be for you.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay. But again, not meant to be another call for the same people, right? Hopefully, we're going to draw some new people and get them involved.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks.
Great. Well, anything else we should discuss? Yeah, go ahead.
I have 2 questions. One is I'd like to get, if possible, some feedback on a feature request regarding adding a CSS class to the link dialog of CK Editor. Because I had the impression, so I would like to use it, but I had also the impression in different places that people like to have it, but nobody. I got no reaction on my feature request, so I'm not sure if just people have no time at this moment, or if they find that it's a bad idea?
I personally think it's a good idea. I have a lot of requirements where sometimes my editors need to be able to like style a link in the middle of their text differently from everything else and make it look like a button or something. And so I would love to have that feature. Right now, I have them kick it to me, and then I have to change it to like full HTML and like hard code in the class. That's definitely not an ideal circumstance because then they can't edit the post anymore. So I would love to see that. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's very hard, but I haven't looked at the link dialog to see how hard it would actually be to implement. It seems like it might be the kind of thing that needs tests, so it should definitely go into 1.12 rather than a bug fix release. But if it's not as complicated, if it's not complicated, I don't see there's any reason why it couldn't get in. Can you, do we have a link to that issue? Can you throw it into Gitter or the meeting chat? Or something?
Yeah, the number is 3307.
Okay, 33.
I can also.
I just posted it in the chat.
Oh,
Okay,
great.
thanks.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
So I guess maybe it's not too difficult because we have similar cases like the block class in the layouts. So I think it should be quite similar, but CK Editor may be more complicated.
Yeah, that's the piece I don't personally understand is how our link dialog integrates with the CK editor piece. I think like adding the field to the form and checking to make sure it's a class is going to be easy, but then I don't know how to pass that information to CK editor, stick it into the link. It could be very straightforward, and as soon as you look at it, you're like, oh, you just put it in here and it's fine. Or it could be something where it's hard. So someone will just have to look at it and see, but it does sound straightforward. Like adding a class to a link seems like something everybody's going to need to do at some point or another. So yeah, we just need to have someone who has time to take a look at it. I did just change the milestone from 1.x future to 1.12 to see if we could bump that up, at least to get a look at it before next week. And if it looks like it's doable and someone wants to take a stab at it, we can do that. I'll also throw it into the agenda too, so that we can remind ourselves next week.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, this seems to be a common issue, not only with. It's good that we have a separate issue for adding that to links, but we have similar issues with like in b.org. We always, for example, the roadmap page, we want to add IDs to certain headings. Sorry, so it's a pretty common issue. If we could come up with a generic solution as to be able to add different properties like IDs or classes to different things, that would be great. But if it is scope creep, then yeah, I think that at least having the links have classes is a very common use case, as you said. Yeah,
also
people want to style it as that.
I'm pretty sure adding a attribute to a heading is going to be different because in this case we have our own like link dialog. But I like that idea, Gregory. I run into all the time. Can you create an issue for adding an ID to a heading tag if we don't have one already? Okay, because I think having that feature elsewhere is going to be, it's going to be different implementation, but I don't want the idea to get lost.
Yeah, it's that, and the fact that IDs also help as URL fragments, and people use them quite often. So okay, yeah, I'll see if we have something similar. If not, I'm going to file a new issue.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, the other question is a more difficult one in a way, because on a certain site, since a week ago, I get an unexpected error on the admin content page, but without any further information. So there's even no error in the DB log. And so generally, how can I debug it? Because I get no information, only the general unexpected error one. Is there?
Yeah, that's tricky. Do you have access to server logs where that site is?
Yes, there was nothing.
Nothing in there either.
No.
Oh, so sorry, I missed what you said then, Olaf. So you're saying that there's an error thrown, a generic one, and you don't.
One of these unexpected errors on the admin content page, and there's no further information.
So by default, errors are muted for the common users. Have you enabled the show all errors option in the developer options?
I tried that. So it's a live site, so it's not turned on usually.
Okay,
but I tried it, and yeah, there was nothing, and neither in the server logs.
And you say you can only reproduce it on live. You cannot reproduce it on your local.
I have another environment, and there the error isn't there, but it's quite. There's a little difference in the PHP version, because I guess it's because they have the brand newest PHP version ever, and they updated it around that time. Mm-hmm. And so I guess it's because of that version, but they can't, or they don't want to change it because there are a lot of sites on it and so on. And so I'm looking for a general approach how to look at other places in such a case when there's
It definitely sounds like it's an issue related to a PHP problem, especially since they just bumped the version. And that might explain why PHP is dying early enough that it can't write to your log, at least your database log. But there should be a PHP error log that it can write to, because it should be telling you what's going on. And it might be that it's not configured to write to the location on the server that it normally logs stuff. It could also be that somehow those error messages are suppressed. Even if you have the setting in Backdrop set to turn errors on, it could somehow otherwise be suppressed. This is super tricky. What I would do if it were me is I would try and set up my copy of the site to use exactly the same PHP version as the live site, and see if you can get it to reproduce in an environment where you can control the error logging. And then you can get it to tell you exactly what line and which file is causing the problem.
Okay, yeah, I'll try that. Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not sure, Andy, if you had seen that before, if you'd heard that.
Yeah, so we'll see. It's really strange, because also in the view where the admin content is generated, in the preview, everything is fine. So it's only the page, and the other admin content page, it's admin content files and so on, also fine. So it's really strange. But okay, that helped me a lot. So I'll talk with them and try that. Okay, thanks.
Sure.
I'm not sure if we have time for that or how much work that would be. There's this ticket between things, so I'm not very organized today. Adding the media library to the upload button.
Like browse existing?
Yes. To upload existing. Do you have any rough idea how much work is required? Like, is it realistic to say that we can get it in for the 1.12?
I have no idea. It sounds like it might be realistic because we already have all of the pieces we need. We just need to put them in someplace new. But I don't actually know how hard the putting them someplace new is.
Yeah. So mainly I was thinking in a marketing sort of like mentality. So it's the anniversary, the birthday thing. So we like if there's small but awesome features that can get in, it will be awesome to have them. Yeah. So this was mentality, but I know it gets people in time and energy to get things done. So I appreciate that.
I think there was.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I think there was another approach, I guess, by Larin, who tried to take the approach from the CK editor image library and try to use that for the image field.
Yeah, that's the issue I'm talking about. That's the same issue.
So, and there was another issue before. Maybe you remember from Daggerhard, I don't know, another approach, a very big one. And so then and he didn't make it to the end, and then it was quiet for a long time. But I guess around the last releases, we talked about that issue, or that approach. And then that from Larian is newer. It's he made it a couple of months ago.
I actually cannot remember anything from Daggerhead, so I must have slipped from my radar. So I'll see, and I'll link the 2 tickets between them so that we don't miss it. It's just that I've been working a lot with with my work with GovCMS, like the 8th version of it, the release, and they have included certain things that are UX improvements. I'm not sure if I filed the ticket or if I just started typing it about adding drop zone into core, which, like for example, we don't have any solution to bulk upload. So if someone wants to build a media library and they have file fields or image fields that are with multiple cardinality, then it gets really tedious to upload images. Like it's really annoying to just each time upload one image at a time. Whereas if you have something like Dropzone.js, you can just drag and drop, I don't know, dozens of files, and it will just upload them for you. And they have done a good job in integrating that with the GovCMS distro in the file listing page, or whatever we call the media library. So you have add file or bulk upload files. And I found that to be, like, I used that a couple of times, and I found it to be a really much more user-friendly experience.
The one of Larian, I just found it, it's 3297. And he had a mock-up, which looks nice.
Yep.
But then there was no further activity there.
Yeah,
so we should ask him, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So Doc Wilmot, during the release back in August, suggested that when we are close to release, we have sort of like a coordination between what seems realistic and what not, and then we figure out which people have time on their hands and what they can work on. Because, for example, I'm not sure Larian is not around. Maybe we should ask on Gitter. And like if he has 2 or 3 tickets that he's thinking of working on, maybe we can prioritize that based on what we would think would be most important if he doesn't have time for everything. And not just Larian, just everyone in general.
Yeah, that would be good. I think what we were planning on doing next week is paring down the number of items we talk about on this agenda to only be the ones that are realistic to get into 112. So maybe what we should do between now and then is follow up on all the issues to say, like, hey, is there anyone that's working on this? Do you have time to push across the finish line? Yes, no. And if they say yes, we leave it on the agenda. And if they say no, we pull it off. And that way it'll help inform the decision next week as to whether anything needs to be bumped to the next milestone or not.
Yeah. Tim made a suggestion there. I'm not sure if you guys saw that.
At the beginning of every meeting, ask people to introduce themselves here in the chat. Yeah, that would be good. So that way, if there's people you haven't seen in a meeting before, you can say hello.
By the way, Angeline is new.
I think that's Andy. Okay, let's see. So I did add the image library modal 3297 to the issue, to the agenda. So we'll follow up with Laren on that and see if he wants to work on it between now and 112, or if anyone else is motivated to do it. And then we'll check in next week, and it'll be on the agenda if we can do it. And if it looks like we can't, we'll bump it to 113. Okay, Joseph, Nate's back. I don't know if you're still here, but I was thinking maybe at the conclusion of the broadcast, which should be any minute now, we could have you two stay on Google Hangout and chat about color settings. You're both muted. I'll assume. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Great. And then anything else we should talk about before then? No? Okay. Well, then let's go ahead and wrap this meeting. Thank you guys all for coming. My dog really wants to leave the room, so also thank you for putting up with her whining. But yeah, we'll see you on the internet between now and next week.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.